Welcome all to this edition of the Fat Dad Fishing Show podcast. My name is Rich. I am your host for this episode, and I am joined by my co-host Ed, who is the owner of Captain Hank's Tackle. In this episode, we have Elle from HeavenandElleOutdoors on Instagram, and she has made a name for herself for several species of fish, including fluke, which is summer flounder, and tog, but also winter flounder, which is one of the less fished species in New Jersey waters, but also one of the best tasting fish that's out there. So Elle is going to join us on the show. We're going to talk about a lot of things, but we're really going to focus on winter flounder for those that want to get out there and give it a try. The season opened up on March 1st, 2022. So without further ado, let's jump in, start the podcast. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Fat Dad Fishing Show. My name is Rich, and I'm here with co-host Ed. Ed, how you doing tonight?
I am doing well. Another Monday night, Striper Eve. It's getting good.
Yeah, it's, well, we know some people that are probably sitting there, maybe going to grab a little bit of the show before they pack up the truck and head down. Probably Chris Matusin is one of them. I wouldn't be surprised if Bayside Dave is not gearing up right now, but it's time. It's time for striped bass. It's also time for winter flounder, which we're going to talk a little bit about tonight with Heaven and Elle on HeavenandElleOutdoors. That's her handle on Instagram. Let me just introduce to everybody Heaven and Elle Outdoors. Welcome to the stream.
Hi, guys.
Welcome.
Good to see you. Good to see you. So I got to say, for those that are not familiar with Elle, check her out on Instagram. You will find that she can probably outfish most of the people that you know. And she is like the tog queen, but also flounder. Fluke and even winter flounder, and I thought it would be a good time to bring on. We did a lot of tog stuff in the fall, and I think we were feeling a little togged out on the topics, so we wanted to
Never.
we wanted to take a little break, but rather than bring you on to talk about the other season opener for tomorrow or in a couple of hours from now, the striped bass, I wanted to talk a little bit of winter flounder. So before we get into that, you want to just introduce yourself and let people know all about you, where to find you, and a little bit of backstory?
Well, obviously, my name is Elle. I fish out of Manasquan, Point Pleasant Inlet. I live in Point Pleasant, so I have, a great fishery in my backyard. Been fishing since I was young with my dad, and then, as I got older, actually in school, I took a marine biology class and it just interested me, and the teacher took us on a blue fishing trip. So blue fishing was my gateway, my gateway fish. Usually it's bluegill for people or little sunnies, but mine was bluefish. And, of course it's one of the hardest fighting fish, in New Jersey. So I was definitely hooked after that. And I've dated a few guys who've been in fishing, so just picked up a bunch of stuff from them, and
here you are. Well, it's funny. I'm also one of those people that did not start on bluegills and sunnies. I started on bluefish and flounder. I like to say that bluefish or flounder, depending on the conversation, was my first fish. I don't know which one it was, but I know that when I was too little to remember, I don't remember it. My first fishing experiences were down in Stone Harbor, fishing off the docks. I'm thinking little snapper blues were probably the first fish that I was catching.
Probably, but and snappers are going to fight good. So.
Oh yeah, because you had those little tiny whip rods that weren't good for anything else. But so that's how I started. Now before we get into the winter flounder, tog. Well, actually, let's come back to tog, because I want to talk about not only tog fishing with you, but a little bit. Want to make sure that we talk about conservation. I want to kind of hold on to that a little bit. So I know that is a topic that is of interest to you. Yes. So let's talk a little bit about the winter flounder and maybe how you got into it and what your experience has been over the past few years.
So my first winter flounder I caught on the Mimi, great bottom fishing boat. They know the winter flounder spots. You got to get on a boat. If you're just starting out winter flounder fishing, get on a boat that knows winter flounder, and they'll definitely help you out. Like I said, the first one was the Mimi, and they know the winter flounder spots. They'll say, okay, guys, this is a winter flounder spot. So, they tell you, wait for the wait for that winter flounder bite. So the Mimi was my gateway to winter flounder, and then I've picked up some winter flounder on it was a Barbie owl, now it's a sea owl. It's a 6-pack charter. So, but you can also get it from land, especially where I am, and I've been in the bay and winter floundered in the bay too. So basically, once you get the first winter flounder, you gotta remember how that bite felt. I would say it's more similar to a tog bite. They're tricky. They're not they don't really bite like a fluke. They kind of slurp up the bait.
Right.
So you got to get yourself familiar with the bite too, and don't expect it to feel like a fluke. They blah blah blah, they bobble on the way up like a fluke, but they're not going to bite the same
Yeah,
way.
they've got. I'm not sure exactly why, but I'm guessing part of it has to do with their mouth. I mean, they don't have teeth.
Their little lips, they're so cute. Those little lips.
I never caught one, so this is all new to me.
I'll tell you right now.
Oh man, you gotta.
Let me put this up here.
You gotta look at their little lips.
So how to tell them apart? And I wish I could zoom in. So one of the big questions that you always get, and Elle had shared this with me earlier today, that a lot of people are saying, well, how can you tell the difference between a flounder and a fluke? A fluke meaning, for the majority of the people that are watching this live stream, it's a summer flounder. Maybe it is possible for a southern flounder to make its way up past North Carolina and Virginia, but for the most part, it's a summer flounder, is also called a fluke. And then there's the flounder, and in this case, it's the winter flounder.
Yes. So I mean, I don't know if you can see there on the right. They do have those tiny little lips. So you got to use a smaller hook. I have some rigs here. I don't know if you guys can see it, but the hooks are super tiny, and these are long shanked hooks. So I would use these with bloodworms, so that way you can kind of string the bloodworms. Let me push it up a little bit, so you can kind of string the bloodworms on, right. And also leave a little bit hanging off, so that way they can slurp on the end of the worm. If I were winter flounder fishing in the summer out, on a party boat or something, they would be using not bloodworms, so they'd be using clam. When I did catch winter flounder, it was a bottom fishing trip, so we were fishing for lit. So clam, and actually they were like, the secret is it would be like this little skinny strip of clam plus a gulp, and because you're on a bottom fishing trip and other people are also fishing with bait, it's kind of almost chumming the bottom. So if you're lifting up your weight and the sinker hits the sand, and it kind of like makes the particles kind of chum up, and you're essentially chumming the bottom with your sinker, because if you just let it sit there, you really want to get that bottom churned up, so that way they kind of go in a little feeding frenzy. I was going to say, back to the picture, if you look at their mouths, that is the best way for me anyway to explain to people what the difference is. A lot of people say, well, just look at it, and if it faces the left, it's a fluke, and if it faces the right, it's a flounder. I'm like, I'm not looking at their eyeballs, okay? You can pretty clearly see in the picture they have different mouths. The other thing is, when you pick it up, a fluke is extremely slippery. It's very hard to grab onto a fluke. You can't lip them at all, obviously, because they have big teeth, and that's another thing. You had mentioned their teeth, or lack of. The flounder feels like sandpaper. So it's slippery sandpaper, but it's still sandpaper. It's very easy to grab onto it because it's not going to slide out of your hand. And then, of course, their camouflage is a little bit different, because winter flounder is going to be, they're generally darker. They're going to be in sandier, muddier places. And we know that fluke are really good at camouflaging, so they kind of change their spots a little bit. But that's the best way for you to tell is by picking them up and feeling their skin and looking at their mouth.
Yeah, and like you said, it's really the mouth. I mean, it's just this little tiny circle of a mouth.
It's so cute. It is.
And then,
Well,
It's these little
it's their
lips.
size too, right? They're generally smaller than a fluke.
Yes. So in this little picture that I put together, I didn't have. So actually, it's a funny story about the fluke in this picture. I actually caught that one togging. I caught it on green crab of all things. I mean, we know fluke eat everything, but I was shocked. And this was actually the day before the season closed, and I was so bummed because I didn't think I would be able to get out for any kind of fluking. And this little unicorn made my day because I caught him on green crab. But I would say it was probably about maybe 15, 16 inches. The flounder in the other picture is probably my personal best flounder. That one I remember picking up saying, this is bigger than a keeper fluke. So actually, the winter flounder in this picture is bigger than the fluke in this picture, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, generally, you see if you're fishing the back bays for them, they're going to be a lot smaller. So you're going to get the 10 to 12 inchers. Go on a party boat and head out in the summer, and you're going to catch much bigger winter flounder like that.
Yeah, and it's, if you compare them, I mean, a summer flounder has a size up to 36 inches. Not saying that anybody watching this has ever caught one that big, but up to 36 inches. The southern flounder is up to 28 inches. The Gulf flounder tops out really at around 18, and that's pretty well equivalent to where winter flounder is going to end up, somewhere in the 16 to 18 range. But it's interesting you mentioned about kind of chumming up that bottom, right? So the puffs of the sand on the bottom kicks up the debris. And a lot of times that's how people are fishing for it. They're just chumming and just throwing stuff in the water. Have you ever taken that approach when you're fishing for them?
Yes. So if you're going to fish for them from land, or like if you take your aluminum boat in the back bays, you're going to have to chum for them because they're lazy. They're just going to sit there. You gotta have to chum for them. The only other thing is if you go with a bunch of other people and they're also fishing, I think that's why you have a lot more luck fishing for them on a party boat, because everybody's fishing with bait. So there's bait all over the place. So yeah, you have to chum. The other thing is I've heard people throw like corn kernels because apparently they're attracted to yellow. So like a lot of the rigs have yellow. These are green, yellow beads. I have this one from like 1982 probably, but you can see that as a yellow grub. I don't even know where this one came from. It's really old.
Well, the older ones, I'm going to tell you, really work, and it was always yellow. I mean, growing up, I'm almost 50, and growing up, it was always chum it up. Corn was definitely one of them, and it was always use yellow. There was not a as far as I remember, I don't even think you could buy any locally made rigs that didn't have a yellow bead on it. And it was just the way that it was, and it was all about chumming it up. Now, corn is one of them. I've also heard things like cat food, which I've never used. I don't know if you used anything besides corn.
I've never even used corn really. Just a chum log with with a rig that has yellow beads on it. Cat food. I mean, you can make your own chum. People make their own chum with corn, crushed up mussels, maybe cat food. I don't know. I think the thought of it just grosses me out. I'd rather be elbows deep in a bucket full of clams than cat food.
Yeah, it's
Drew says,
well, there you go.
A big plunger.
Yeah. I mean it.
Yes, I've heard of that method.
Yeah.
Plunger.
I forget who it was. It was way back in the day. The guy would drag big chains. He wouldn't anchor, but he'd drag chains by his boat, and he would just drift, and it would just be churning it up, and which didn't make a lot of sense to me because he's going. I guess it was churning it up behind the boat, and the current was then pushing it back under him. But He swore by it. He
yeah.
had these big, long. I think he had something like 6 feet of chain on the end of like 3 ropes, and he just throw them one off the front and one off at each spring line, and just drag it down the way.
Interesting.
But yeah, I've heard of cat food, which I honestly I wouldn't do that. Rabbit food, Drew was saying in the chat, and he would know. He's a good winter flounder fisherman.
Actually, Andrew, I've heard about you, and I think I had messaged him on Facebook one time. I had taken a picture down near the Queen Mary of the sunset, and his son and his friend were on a boat. They were striper fishing, and they were catching all the schoolies they could find. And I was watching them and wishing I had a boat at that point. I swam out there and jumped on with them because it was striper after striper there. I mean, they were little, but yeah, see, he says yes. See.
But he's also pointing out he's also pointing out that he used to take 1-inch yellow Mr. Twister grubs and soak them in clam the night before. And I have still from 25 years ago these yellow soft plastics that we used to use, and we would soak them in. I think we would soak them in squid juice in the containers of squid. I never used clam back in the day. I do now, but yeah, it's all about chumming it up and getting the scent in the water.
I mean, now you could use that finessence oil too.
Procure, finesse, yeah.
They have everything now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, what's it called? Finesse or finessence? I can never say.
I don't know. I use Procure.
Yeah, no, I have some somewhere. It's the stuff they use in plug bait.
Yes. Yep. It's the same exact stuff they use on plug bait. Yep. I've thought of using plug bait for winter flounder. I mean, just because it is soaked in that finessence oil.
Fin oil.
You can buy the bottle of oil.
Yeah, that stuff. Yeah, I mean, I have a bunch of plug bait, so I thought maybe I would try it out. Everything eats that. So
finessence.
Yeah,
I can learn my left from
Oh, I'm saying it right. Finessence.
That stuff's potent too. My hands are gonna smell the rest of the night.
Yeah, man. You gotta watch where you put that. Like, it makes the deck of a boat slippery.
Yeah, and it's almost.
Have you seen it go overboard?
Yeah, it leaves little.
Yeah, it's like motor oil going overboard.
It probably isn't very good for the environment.
Yeah, yeah, it probably isn't. Actually, I think it is real cheddar oil, though, right? I thought it was
by a seafood company.
I don't know.
Well, so it smells like cheddar, but it's not necessarily. It's probably got a bunch of other stuff ground into it. So
non-polluting.
Okay.
Oh, good.
Well, yeah, that is good. So
that's always a good thing.
So let's go before we jump ahead. So what size hooks are you using? For summer flounder, Ed and I had talked about this. I'm typically using a 4/0 and up. Mainly because of the size of the baits. What are you using when you're talking about winter flounder?
For summer flounder, I use anywhere between, for fluke, I use anywhere between 3 and 5, which I get a lot of crap for because a lot of people like a bigger hook. But I obviously catch plenty on smaller hooks. These say number 2. So I would say, I mean, these are very specifically, they're made for winter flounder. These don't have a size on it. Number 2, I mean, when you go to get a flounder rig, they're pretty much all the same size. I also have these Eagle Claw. They say 2/0. So you want, I would say, anything smaller than a 3/0 hook because, as you can see, they have those tiny little lips. Even the big ones have tiny lips. Yeah. Am I getting fuzzy?
You're fine. Fuzzy. You're fine. So to your point, even the bigger ones, you put your thumb in there and it almost fills up their entire mouth.
Yeah. I mean, I like I said, I would say anything less than 3/0, and I would even say that 3/0 is too big. However, I mean, when we're on those bottom fishing trips, fishing for ling, we're not changing out the hooks just for winter flounder. So we're also catching them on, a regular bait hook. I would guess between 3 and 4 on the bait hook.
And are you using just rigs? Are you using just rigs, or are you also using jigs?
No, for for the ling and bottom fishing and winter flounder, it's all bottom rigs. You want it to be on the bottom, so all rigs, all bait.
Yeah, that was always my experience. I don't know. There was the question in the chat. Have you ever tried a bass spinnerbait or something different? I haven't. I've used artificial. I've used gulp. I've used soft plastics with Procure. I haven't used the Finessence on it, but Procure, which really messes up the kayak too. It really makes you smell bad when you get back in the car and don't realize that your leg's been leaning on the open bottle all day. It's terrible. It is absolutely terrible.
No, I've never used anything like that for winter flounder, but maybe this year I will.
And are you using any different rod than you would use regular fluke in the backwaters?
I use my fluking rod for pretty much everything. I just upgraded a little bit. I had an inshore and I just upgraded to the Premier, the St. Croix Premier. And I also upgraded my reel to a Stratic. Had an old crappy one on another one. It was like making noise and stuff. But I went to the Keys a few years ago and I had a travel rod. So it came with an Akuma and that's what I had been using. But I got a lot of frowny faces at my Akuma. So I upgraded to the Stratic when the Jersey Hook had a sale for Christmas. So I got an all new setup. But yeah, I mean, I would use a spinning rod in the bay and from land too, because locally I have a few spots from land that I could be winter flounder fishing. And I would probably use a spinning rod. But obviously, if I'm bottom fishing on the Mimi, let's say I'm using my conventional.
Right, and it's funny that you mentioned people are making fun of your Akuma.
I think it's great. I mean, I've had it for years. You see how much I fish with it too. I mean, it's still good. Like I'm on another rod and giving it to my sister. She's gonna use it. But I got a lot of crap for it, so whatever.
Well, we're not gear snobs here. If you have the money and you want to spend it on the high end stuff, I mean, go for it. I'm all for it. Spend it on what you want. But I fish in a kayak. I can lose things. I have lost things, and I also don't see that I need to have $200, $300, $400 reels. So I actually go out and I would fish for winter flounder with a Penn Pursuit, which is a $39 reel, or a Penn Fierce, which is a $79 reel, a Daiwa BG, which is $100, and I do have an old Stratic, but it's about 15 years old. It's a Stratic FL, so it's one of those old school ones. It still works.
Which one I have
it? Yeah, right. You'll get to see. It's right here, and look at all the corrosion on the back of it.
Nice.
After all these years, but it still works. It's still pulling in big striped bass and all that stuff. But yeah, it's a FL. So it used to be expensive. Now it's now everybody would consider it a piece of junk, but it still works. So if Akuma works for you, go for it. But you got the new Stratic. Did you get the new model, or did you get one of the older CI?
I got the Stratic 4000 XJ. I actually put my laptop on the box.
Gotcha.
To raise it up.
I have a whole bunch of stuff under my camera and laptop right now. There's a lot of stuff I can't get to. You got to lift everything up. I mean, this thing is like 5.5 feet up.
Got to get rid of my double chin somehow. It's got to be up.
Well, that's why. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to keep it above me a little bit. It's supposed to make me look thinner. Yep. We'll go against the fat dad thing.
Exactly.
Yeah. So and Drew's also chiming in again in the chat, and he's mentioning that they use the 3/0, 4/0 English style hooks when he was winter flip. Yep, there you go, Quincy Bay, and then a number 2 bait holder hook. And he brings up an important point about the baits. It's really the soft baits that I've had experience with. Worms, as you had mentioned, and clam, as you had mentioned. Mussels, great chum, but also great bait if you can find it.
I usually, whenever I go clamming, I usually pick up a few mussels, throw them in the freezer.
Yeah, it's a good idea. I mean, God, with all the rocks and bridges and everything that we're next to, Ed, we should really be scraping some of those off every once in a while, um, instead of just letting them scratch up the kayaks all day.
Yeah, they're like razors. Why?
They are.
Why are they so
I think that
sharp?
I don't know if Ed's is as bad as mine, but the front of mine is just torn up. So I got some work to do on it. I gotta smooth it out with the iron, and make it look new again. But yeah, I haven't gotten to it yet.
I never thought to do
Yeah,
that.
it would have been a
Mine's
good time to do it in the winter, but of course I didn't do any of that stuff. No. All right, so okay, so you're fishing now. When you're fishing for winter flounder, now you go on the party boats from time to time to do it, but you're mainly back bay. Now, don't tell everybody exactly where, but from what spot in New Jersey north would you feel comfortable if all you were allowed to catch that day was winter flounder, and that's all you would catch? What's the furthest south that you would go for that? Because that's a big debate right now.
I would say Barnegat Bay. I've never fished the Mullica. I've only observed from afar for the Mullica. But yeah, I would say Barnegat Bay.
Yeah, I'm desperately searching for reports south of there. They used to be there. You know, people would say that they weren't. They were always north of Atlantic City, but I haven't found any. I fished last year for them a few times. Not a touch, nothing. Well, striped bass. I picked up some stripers. That was it.
I don't ever recall like Absecon area ever hearing anything about winter flounder in there.
No, I mean I can throw a rock to Absecon Bay, the tackle shop. I've never heard Dave talk about winter flounder ever.
I mean, could it be that people just aren't fixating on winter flounder? Like if they're at the Mullica, they're they're fishing for other stuff.
It's definitely a possibility.
Yeah, I think it could be. I mean, you see that a lot. You know, people would swear that there are no redfish in New Jersey, but we know for a fact there are. You know, people have seen them. People have caught them occasionally. Yeah, I mean, back in the day, I used to catch them down near Stone Harbor and Avalon. But that was when I was a kid. So that was 30 years ago, over 30 years ago. So, yeah, I think they're just running low. So what's one tip that you would give to somebody who wants to go out winter flounder fishing for the first time starting tomorrow?
Chum.
Chum. It's all about the chum.
Chum and smaller hooks. Yeah, chum and smaller hooks and patience. A lot of patience. So like I was talking about before with like how they bite, they're not gonna, like, if you're expecting it to feel anything like a fluke like whale on that bait, bucktail, whatever you got. But winter flounder really do, they slurp. I like to think of like like you slurp a noodle.
Yep.
They take that little worm and they slurp it up. So yeah, just be patient. When you think that you feel a flounder, be patient. You're lifting the rod. You're not setting a hook really. You're just lifting it, and it'll pretty much set itself. Because if you pull hard, it's gonna go right out of that little tiny mouth, and you're never gonna see that flounder again. So you're lifting the rod. You're not yanking on it.
Yeah, so it's similar to the weak fish as opposed to the fluke. You don't want to tear it right through that mouth.
Yeah, you're gonna rip their poor little lip off.
Yeah. And are you using circle hooks or are you using J hooks?
J hooks.
J hooks.
Bait holder. I wouldn't even bother with circle hooks. I think that because they are a little bit wider, I think that it would have a harder time. You don't need it anyway because their mouths are so small. They're not going to swallow it or anything, So yeah, I would just use a bait hook, or like I said, those winter flounder, the long shank hooks.
So let me ask you this: so it's not winter flounder, but you catch a ton of fluke throughout the year, and again,
fluke is my favorite.
Yeah, mine too. So anyone who hasn't checked you out on Instagram, it's at HeavenandElleOutdoors. Mm-hmm. And just start looking through the pictures. You are not only tog, so you're like the tog queen as far as I can tell, and then you're all over the fluke during the summer.
the end of August, right when all the albies started showing up, the boat broke. So that's why I togged every single day in the fall, because I was like so angry that the boat broke. Because I could have been fluking, or there was mahi inshore. Like I could have been fishing for everything, and I was stuck on land. So the tog really saved my life this past fall. But yeah, I did tog every day. So, oh yeah, look at that! You put up my mahi.
Yeah, there you go.
I didn't know. I didn't send that one to you, did I?
No, you didn't.
That one, believe it or not.
He found pictures of me I didn't know existed.
Yeah, well, for everyone watching, you should know I took these off of Instagram, and Ed, yours were taken off of Facebook, and it is very awkward when I'm pulling pictures off of a woman's Instagram and my wife is walking by. I told her like 100 times. I told her like 100 times. I said, Elle is coming on. She's like, that's great. And she's like, it's great that, that you're finally having a woman come on. I'm like, yeah. And she's great at fishing. And she'd walk by and like pulling more pictures for Elle's. Awesome. It's just odd. I don't want my wife thinking,
not being weird.
Who is this person? Yeah.
Hey,
not creeping on the younger women.
Like I said, I keep it PG. So this one was actually on a bottom fish boat. This was a Paramount. And on any bottom fishing trip, always bring, and I'm giving away all my secrets now, always bring a spinning rod. I have a very keen eye for mahi for some reason, probably because I'm obsessed with them.
Yeah.
I see them darting around, and you just start casting for them. This one was caught on a bucktail. Yeah, pretty cool. Everyone on the boat was like, oh my gosh, you got a mahi. And then I went back to bottom fishing. I have my Yvette in my hand.
That's awesome. And you know what? I've caught more mahi on bucktails than anything else, than everything else combined. I mean, it's just, it's so easy. So easy with the bucktail. Easy to cast, easy to retrieve. And just like bluefish, they hate them. I think they just murder them just because they annoy them when they go by.
But you know what? That's a very real possibility. I could picture that, definitely.
Yeah. We've got other pictures in here. Let's see. And we got the nice bass there.
Yeah, that was I want to say it might have been the year of COVID. Oh my gosh, that sounds silly.
Yeah.
The year that COVID hit and everyone went into hiding and whatever. That was the best sea bass fishing I think I've ever had. It was like dropping real sea bass inshore. So that was from that. I guess that was 2020, so a few years ago.
Yeah.
But this one was really pretty. You can see it's got that blue because it was spawning, and that nice bump on its head. And then the tog, that was one of the bigger ones that I caught this year. I would say probably in November, obviously from land. I'm sure you can all guess where.
I'm not saying anything.
But don't give away my secret spots. It's not a secret anymore. Somebody told, and now it's inundated with people, which would bring us to our next topic, which would be fog conservation, which nobody ever talks about.
Right. And I think it's an important one. We barely touched on it when Jim Hutchinson was on. I guess the marine fisheries, whatever, met today, but we don't have our seasons yet. We don't have anything really. We don't really even know what's going on yet this year, and it's already turning into March tonight. But tog is a big one. And I think, if John were on tonight, John Creeley, he's in love with tog. He thinks those ugly fish are the most beautiful fish in the world. And, so he fishes for him a lot. And he continually says there are less fish and there are smaller fish every year. Yeah. And I think that's what we're seeing. Now, I will tell you this. When Jim came on, I did some research on it, and it looks as though, if I recall correctly, and I should have brushed up on this, but if I recall, the tog stocks, according to the latest evaluation, are very strong north of New York. and they're declining in our area. But I'm not sure if I have that totally correct. However, anecdotally, they're declining, and they're not just declining. It feels like they're crashing.
So with COVID, I think a lot of people got into fishing, especially land-based fishing, because obviously not everybody has a boat. So particularly the area that I fish, I have never, ever seen that many people togging before. And not only that, but I also have never, ever seen that many people poaching before. So I had a lot of people, and this is literally like my backyard. I saw a lot of people taking over the bag limit, all tiny fish. I mean, I was watching a kid 12 years old across the place that I fish, had a stringer full of fish, and that was when it was only one you were supposed to keep. So right there, it was over the limit. But also they were all small fish. Where I fish from land, they're not going to get that big. So it was devastating to watch it. And not only that, but people were leaving garbage everywhere. So I don't know who spilled the beans. And I'm not the kind of person that's like, no, I'm not going to, no, get away from me. I'll share a spot. I don't care, but respect it. Respect the fishery. I literally, I fished every single day this fall. I didn't keep one single tog because it was breaking my heart to see all those tog walking off in buckets. Now here's the thing, and this is what I really don't understand. Tog are one of the slowest growing fish. I have no idea why it's not more of a concern. Yeah, it's great right now. Obviously, I'm catching keepers every day. It's loaded with right now. But watching so many of them being poached, they're not going to be there in 10 years. It grows so slow. Like, I just don't understand why. Does anybody have an answer about that? Why is it not more important? Obviously, striper fishing is like very heavily being watched. Everybody that I know is critiquing how you're holding the fish for a picture. I just switched out all of my treble hooks for inline hooks, so that way they're easier to unhook. We're making all these steps to preserve stripers, which is great. But what about the tog?
Yeah.
Anybody have an answer for that?
Well, I'll say this. This is my opinion, and I'm sorry. Well, I'm not sorry if it offends anybody. I think what you find a lot is a lot of the people online are virtue signaling one way or the other. And the way you hold it pisses me off when I see somebody catch a striped bass and they release it and people get on them because they didn't hold it properly, or they're surf fishing and some sand got on it. Yeah. Sand's going to get on it. It is what it is. But it also pisses me off when it doesn't piss me off. It's sad then when the same people talk about how they just watched, for the third day in a row, this person that they recognize take 10 fish. It's like, well, call someone. At least call, even though you know that in New Jersey, especially, they're probably not going to show up to do anything, but at least do something.
Yes.
I'm not saying tell them to stop, unless that's your type of personality. Remember, everybody, 100% of fishermen are armed, whether they're legal or illegal. They all have knives. So be careful. There is definitely black market fish, and tog is a big one of them.
Yes.
But it's, I don't know. I don't know why it doesn't get the focus. I think it's because it's not as sexy as a striped bass. You don't have, you don't have.
I think they're sexy.
You also like the winter flounder with their little mouths, are super cute.
All fish need love, so.
Yeah, but they don't get up to 50 pounds. There's not that 50-pound mark that everybody's shooting for. And I tend to think you can hide when you're tog fishing. You're not really hiding when you're striped bass fishing if you're being successful.
That's true, yeah.
If you're tog fishing, you're probably sitting behind a rock. You're under a bridge. You're next to a dock or a seawall that nobody else is at. But if you're striped bass fishing, usually there are a lot of people there. And that's where I think you get the good behavior. And if you notice, all of the people, what was it?
Watching.
all those poachers in Raritan Bay, they were all caught at night, right?
Oh my gosh.
Hundreds.
That story was a sad story. To imagine what they didn't catch. I mean, there was like poaching rings. Who would have thought? But I'll say this: I've also seen a car from up north, New York, that would go, and where I fish, you can see. Try not to give. I mean,
don't give away too much. Don't give it away. Don't give it away.
Where I fish, you can see many spots where there are people fishing, and I've literally watched a car go from one spot to another spot to another spot, pick up tog from the buckets of each spot with New York plates, and head right back up to sell it on the black market.
Yeah.
You call fish game, and they say we don't have any officers in that area. And it gets frustrating to hear that every single time. Like you said, for especially me to go up to a guy and say, hey, you have too many fish in your bucket. I mean, I will.
Yeah, but you got to be careful.
But I shouldn't. Exactly. I shouldn't. The other thing is, I'm not going to argue. There was a 12-year-old kid poaching. I'm not going to argue with him from across the water.
Yeah.
It just sucks to say. And I don't know. I mean, I think you guys touched on this. I don't know what the answer is, except at least it's good to talk about it. I don't know if everyone knows that tog are the slowest growing fish in our fishery. But it's really important because a keeper tog it has to be old. So
yeah.
I just don't know why there's not more attention being paid to it. We have mahi, that's the fastest growing fish, and that's why there's just no limit.
Right.
It's like ridiculous because they grow fast.
Yeah.
So
they're within a couple of years they're reaching maturity, and there's chickens the next year they're nice.
And the thing
I was catching
to touch on that.
Sure, awesome.
The thing that bothers me the most about New Jersey is the land of taxes, but yet there's not enough fish and game officers to even. I think there's like 2 in the area.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yep.
What?
Well, you want another. This is definitely going to be unpopular, and I'm not saying do this. However,
I bet you I'll agree with you because I think I know what you're going to say.
You know what pays for them in other states, right? You know why Florida has so many FWC? Yeah. It's because they have saltwater licenses, and the money is earmarked and cannot be used for anything else except for hiring more FWC.
That
officers.
Won't happen in New Jersey.
Well,
but it needs to.
I'm not saying do it.
They'll do it. Yes,
but that money will go somewhere
else. Just like the firemen and the police, all their pensions and stuff. Yeah, it'll go somewhere else.
Which is why I'm not saying do it in New Jersey, because I have zero trust that the politicians in New Jersey are going to put it where it should be. But it's not, the state, everybody can, if you don't like Florida, you can't knock the fact that they put money into it, because they do. They put money back into it. But that's a big problem. I tell the story all the time. I'm sorry to people who have heard it, but for those that haven't, I saw a conservation officer in New Jersey for the first time a few years ago in my life. I spent every summer in Stone Harbor, New Jersey. I spent every minute I could on the water. I lived down there for summers and summers in a row. And I fished literally at least on average twice per day when I was living down there. And I never saw a conservation officer. It must have been 2 or 3 years ago, because I had just gotten my kayak and I was really excited. And I said, "Oh, do you want to see my saltwater registry?" He's like, "No." And I was like, "Oh, all right." I was like, "Do you want to see if I have any fish?" He's like, "Do you?" I was like, "No." He's like, he said, but then he says, "I'm not here for you." And he was looking at these other people that were fishing on the bank, and they were definitely poaching. So he had caught them, but he gave me his card and he said, "I'll probably never be able to respond, but give me a call if you ever need anything." And he had mentioned that there's only 2 and it's only him. I think he had said it was only him in that area, but there was another guy that also would cross down into that area when he was unavailable, which meant I think he was south of Atlantic City and the other guy was north. The only one. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
They're so understaffed. It's not even funny. It's aggravating, really.
Yeah.
And then that brings up another point. I don't know if you guys read the Jim Hutchinson's article in the latest Fisherman magazine. He talked about, even if they do get caught, so even like, let's say this this ring of fish that got caught, it'll go to court, and the judge, and this is what he said in the article, the judge will say, who cares about a few fish? We have more important things to worry about, and they'll just throw it away. So the consequences aren't even, they're not strong enough. Yeah. So he proposed in the article, which was actually, I never really thought of it this way, to have a designated like court system that only deals with fishing and fish and game infractions, which would actually be pretty cool. I would pay for a saltwater license to fund that. But as some people in the comments said, yeah, right. And you said, yeah, right. That's not going to go to where it needs to go.
No,
not New Jersey.
It's definitely not. But there are states
What
that
a
have
bummer.
that. Yeah, you get a fish court.
Yeah.
I would do that. I think, doesn't Texas have one?
Probably, knowing Texas.
They definitely need to up the penalties, though. But I mean, I get political. Why do I always get political? Look at bail reform in New Jersey. You know what I mean? Like, there's people doing like heinous crimes, and they're just getting turned loose. So they're not going to do anything for people catching fish they shouldn't be.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, it's time to take matters into our own hands.
Yeah, and there's, again,
if you fish in some of the neighborhoods I do, I don't advise that.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I mean, there are some things that you can do. I think go to meetings when the meetings are happening, sharing the outrage of people with bigger voices and make their big voices louder. Jim has a big voice, and he doesn't hide it, but that doesn't mean that he has enough of a voice. So going to the meetings, participating in the meetings, the fishing license, I mean, you could talk about it, but I don't see that ever working out. And I'll just tell you that for this channel, Ed and I and John and a few other guys are going to be tagging a lot this year. So
you know what? I was going to bring that up. Because I also found it odd that most people, when they tag, what do they tag? They tag stripers because that's the focus. I don't recall ever seeing a tagged tog. And actually, it's funny that you brought it up, and it's not because of this conversation, but on a live stream that I was watching the other night, they were talking about tagging, and I actually just joined the Littoral Society tagging program yesterday. So I want to tag some tog and some fluke. That'd be kind of fun too, because I feel like the focus is on stripers.
It is. I'm not tagging striper, and not because I wouldn't. It's just you need to focus, right? Because it does cost money to do this. Every fish you tag, you're paying for. So I'm tagging tog and fluke this year. Yeah. And I think John was striper and fluke. Ed, I don't know if you're going to tag or not. I'll throw you some tags. But
I like to eat them though. Maybe little guys I'll tag.
Well, yeah, you say that, but you throw
true.
back a lot of fish. It's not like you're keeping every keeper. So
no.
Nothing wrong with eating fish if they're legal. That's the way I look at it. But I was thinking of doing. Look, this is not a huge channel with not millions of viewers or anything. But we're thinking about pulling together something as a contest for catch and release photos every month, just to kind of incentivize people. Just say it's just a small way to say, hey, thanks. We're all doing at least a little bit, and if it gets somebody to throw back that one extra fish that they might have kept, okay. So you had one 18 plus fluke go back that wouldn't have gone back normally. So it's not much, and like you said, nobody quite knows what to do. But it's maybe
there's
something.
no solution.
Yeah. So I don't know Ed, we'll just give away all your tackle for free. You don't mind fronting that, right?
No.
I'm always trying to give away his stuff for free.
Listen, I need money. Somebody buy some.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess when that's paying the bills, it's a little bit difficult. But we have talked. Ed and I and John have talked about doing something, just to incentivize people and get people talking about it. Because if people are looking for this month's entries into catch and release, even if they're not doing it, they're seeing it, and that can have an influence. So that's what we're kind of looking forward to. So we talked about winter flounder, and there's probably more that we could talk about, but here we go. It's fishing season again in just a few hours, 3 hours now. What are you also going to be doing for the spring?
So I'll be striper fishing tonight. Checking out the winter flounder from land. And then once the bluefish blitz start, I'm not sleeping.
I got a good spot for some decent sized ones down south if you want to head down there. Yeah.
Oh yeah. There was some last year crazy for the bluefish. I was on the phone chain and I got a phone call and I was down there in 4 minutes and there were some big ones mixed in. And actually the bluefish, I don't know if down near you, but the bluefish stuck around for a long time. Which was kind of not typical. Everything stuck around. I feel like last year's fishing was great.
It was.
But I still fear for the future for it because I think quadruple the amount of people are fishing now than before COVID. So, yeah.
Well, Drew's got some very local spots to you for jumbo land-based bluefish that I guess he's willing to share with you.
They're probably the same spots.
They might be. You may bump into him when you're out there. The place
I bumped into him before, I think.
Okay. Yeah, I've never bumped into him yet. I keep telling him I'm trying. I'm also trying to get him to come on. I'm trying to get him to come on sometime. He just. Oh,
he'd be. Oh man, you got to do it. You got to do it.
He hasn't answered yet, unless
he's
he answered tonight.
Of knowledge.
Yeah, exactly. I've been watching him, and he's one of those guys where if he posts even an answer to somebody else's question, you read it. It's like I see it. Andrew Sokol posted this response, and I'm like, well, what was it? I'm clicking on that, and I'm going through Facebook, I'm reading the whole thread, and I'm like, and the real answer is there it is. And then I read his comment, like, all right, just learned something. So so striped bass. Now I don't see you with a lot of pictures of striped bass. Is it one of your favorite?
No, I'm my least favorite fish to target.
Me too.
Dare I say I almost hate striper fishing.
Me too.
I've always said that you're either a striper fisherman. You're either a striper fisherman or you fish for everything else. It's hard to do both. I like to eat what I catch. And I don't think striper is the best fish to eat, no matter size, even the smaller ones or whatever. I think that
blasphemy.
I just read say yeah. Listen, I'm going striper fishing tonight, so maybe I'll redeem myself a little bit.
Yeah, so tell me how you think about this. This is how I look at striped bass fishing. I love catching striped bass, but I do not love fishing for them. So it's not that I don't like, it's not so much the work. It feels now, unless it's resident bass, I love fishing for resident bass. It's the migratory schools. I can't. It's just so much luck in there. You got these guys, and it annoys me. You got these guys. You suck. You only caught schoolies. It's like, yeah, a school of schoolies came by. What do you want me to do?
I had the most fun last year catching schoolies. Little tiny topwater spook, just blasting them.
They're a lot of fun.
Yeah, I just can't fall in love with the fishing for migratory striped bass. Residents, I do. Now, like I said, they're a ton of fun once you get into them, but I don't like the you could be in the perfect spot, but if the school's not there,
it's really
just
missed
not
it
there.
Yesterday. Yeah.
So now James is getting on me.
I can't tell you how many. I did do a lot of surf casting for them this year, and I suck at it. And I think it's kind of like what you said. you're either there or you're not. And I mean, I would get a phone call, they're here, and I would go there and
They're gone.
just kidding, they're gone now.
Yeah.
It's very frustrating. And when I didn't get those phone calls, I was still out there surf fishing. And you could see them blowing up in the water, you could see the birds diving, and you still don't. I'm bad at it. I will readily admit I'm terrible at striper fishing. It's a work in progress. That's like my the thing that I know that I need to work on is striper fishing. So maybe my luck will change at midnight tonight.
Yeah. Well, yeah, definitely good luck to you. And like I said, I don't love it. It's not that I don't, I think I said I don't like it. I really like striped bass fishing. I don't love it. I love fluke fishing. I love shark fishing, tuna. Yeah, it's usually Ed saying it's too much work. We're going to get Ed one of those scooters so he can ride around on the beach someday.
I'm not that old. Come on. I'm not a surf guy. I'm not a surf guy. I love catching them from the boat or from the kayak, but surf, it's not me. That's work.
I love surf fishing too. I don't know. It's a migratory striped bass, and I've done well on them. Last spring, man, was the best spring I've ever had on them, and I had fun. But it was like, even when I knew that they were in the Raritan, I went out fishing for flounder. Now, of course, as soon as they started blitzing next to me, I was using my flounder rods and snapped one of them because 40-inch bass right next to you got to go for it. But it's. And Andrew puts the point in there. Shark fishing is 6 hours of boredom followed by 20 minutes of excitement. That is absolutely true. But I love shark fishing. I've always loved shark fishing.
I'd rather swim with a shark than catch one. Get off the boat. I don't want any teeth near me. I'll be swimming with them over fishing for them. Sharking is not my thing.
It's amazing. It's amazing. When they come up to the boat, it's
Dan's
amazing.
Got a good one.
Spanish mackerel on the surf.
Never seen on the surf.
I don't think so. I mean, close to the surf. I think the last Spanish mackerel I've seen was on a blue fishing party boat up off the hook. And I mean, we were pretty close, but it was still, a good mile. I don't see catching. Although, were there some in the inlet?
Yeah,
I don't know. You hear rumors and you don't know if they're true or not. Apparently, every single fish ever invented was in the inlet this year. So
so I'll say this: I have caught them in the surf.
Yeah. Well, you just let me ramble on about it, and
I wanted to get your experience with it because I'm not going to say that I would ever go and target them in the surf because I don't think there are that many around up here. It's not like down in Florida where you just go out and you're looking for Spanish right off the beach. So you can catch them, but I think it was put in there in the inlets. I think you're much more likely to catch them near shore and inshore when you're in an inlet rather than in the surf. It's just, I don't think there's just enough numbers up here. But I would look for them when the water's warmer, probably October-ish. Maybe September, probably October is when I would be looking for them personally.
Yeah, that's when I've seen it was September. But apparently a lot of people in the comments have caught them from the surf. I'm just a loser. I've never caught anything like that from the surf.
I've never heard of them in the surf. I've always seen them like, a mile or two off.
Yeah, I mean, so Andrew's saying there's a lot more than I think. Absolutely possible. So I love surf fishing, but I am not a surf fisherman. I never have been. I grew up offshore. That is literally, I spent most of my life offshore, not even inshore or near shore. I'm talking 20 plus miles offshore.
Wow.
So it was big gator blues. It was tuna, shark, mahi. That was essentially what it was. And then when the weather was bad, it was flounder, or fluke. And that was pretty much it. So, and then I started kayak fishing, and then I got my own boat, and then sold the boat, and then I started surf fishing, and before that I would only surf fish when we brought the kids to the beach, and I wanted to fish. So that was it. So it was only so I could keep fishing,
right.
And I fished right where the kids were. So I wasn't looking for the good spots because I couldn't. I was staying near my 3-year-old daughter. So yeah, I will admit I am not a surf fisherman. I have not been. I love it, but I'm just, it's just not where I have a lot of experience.
Yeah, I prefer a boat too.
I love boats. I love the kayak even more though. I'm glad that I have that instead of a boat right now. Now, when I get older, don't say anything, Ed. When I get older, I'm going to eventually need to go back to a boat because
as long as I got a
is
spot in
insane.
the boat, I don't care.
Yeah, you'll have a spot. You guys will both have a spot in the boat if you want it. Pedaling around for 10, 15, 20 miles in a day can get pretty
Yeah,
taxing.
I don't think I could do that.
You
That's
could.
not for me.
I guarantee you could. The question is, do you want to?
No.
Yeah. That's the thing.
I'll say this. If you ever get the opportunity
I'd
to
rather
try
swim.
to get a pedal drive or fish out of a pedal drive kayak, take the opportunity and try it because you'd be surprised yourself.
Yeah, I know I should, but I think I'd rather swim.
Paddle drives are easy though. It's the paddles that are really tough, and that's what I spent 20 years fishing out of. So I thought it was fine after that much time. It was like, that's not a big deal. You learn how to do it. Then I get in this thing that right across the room here, and I start pedaling. I'm like, oh my God, this is ridiculous. Like you don't even break a sweat unless you're going against a really strong current in an inlet. No, you just cruise around. Yeah, it's great. We'll have to talk to John and see if he can join us in one of the he's got a new kayak coming in, so he'll have an extra pedal. So we'll have to ask John. He's gonna have a salty.
You're loaning John's kayak out to everybody, ain't you?
Well, that was James. That was James, not me.
Rent it out.
Yeah, I don't have an extra kayak. I'm not like John. John's the one with all the gear and all the expensive stuff.
I'd like to get a second one, but nah.
Yeah, I keep telling my wife we'll get a second one. She's like, in that case, I'll just go buy this. I'm like, damn it. I want to put the money towards another kayak. She's like, oh, because I keep saying so that you'll go with me. She's like, I'm not going, so I'll just buy this instead. I'm like, all right.
Do they make tandem foot pedal kayaks?
Yes, that's for getting divorced twice as fast.
Yep.
Never kayak in a tandem with your significant other. Never.
Canoes are even sketchy.
I think divorce attorneys rent them out. I mean, you never want to get in a kayak. I would say even a canoe with a spouse or significant other.
Canoe?
I
prefer
sketchy.
A canoe over anything. No, I'm much better at a canoe than a kayak.
That's a good
These
way
kayaks
to fight.
now are they're so much different than what people envision a kayak being. Like I'm 5'10", 230. I can stand in my kayak no problem and be stable. So it's way different than the tippy kayaks that everybody thinks. You see you go down the rapids and stuff. The guys are flipping, and it's a totally different thing.
Yeah, it's worth a try. It's definitely worth a try, especially in the summer. Oh my God, it's great. You're just out there and you can literally just jump right out, get in the water and jump right back in.
I would like it for clamming. That
it would be good for clamming.
I need that for clamming. Because my arms are sore paddling out, paddling back, and also raking up the clams all day.
Well, see, with the pedal kayak, you don't have to do that. You just pedal and you eat a sandwich and drink a soda.
I guess I gotta get a pedal kayak now.
Yeah,
I can eat while I'm pedaling. You didn't tell me this. You should have led with it.
I should have led with
other
that.
than your rudder.
Yeah, I mean, whenever. So, I know I've been out with John when we did this. No, it wasn't John. I think maybe it was Randy. We were out there, and I started getting hungry. I'm like, it's time to move. And he just kind of looks at me. I'm like, I'm hungry. So it just gave me, I wanted to eat, but I didn't want to stop fishing. So I felt more productive if I moved to a new spot and just ate on the way. So I wouldn't lose any fishing time. So yeah, I just kind of took off and went a half a mile, and I finished my sandwich and all set and ready to go, baited up and dropped as soon as I got there. Yeah, it's great. Nice. It's absolutely great. All right.
I'll have to put it on my list.
Yeah. So Fluke,
get the chance, check it out.
Yeah. I would recommend anybody check out kayaks. You never know if you're going to like them. Now, I do know people that absolutely hate them and gave them a real try. It's not for everybody, but it is a good way. For me, it's a great way when I go alone to just disappear in the middle of the summer with boats all over the place, and I just take a little right turn and there's no one because I can go where they
That's
can't
true.
go. And
Yeah.
it's like finding your peace again in the backwaters, in the small channels. And then all of a sudden this 3-foot channel or creek that you're going up turns into 10 feet. You're like, oh, now I'm going to pull dinner out of here. And you're just back
Nice.
there.
Or
on
40
your own.
feet.
So 40 feet, as in the case of the one that you found, which is ridiculous. It shouldn't be 40 feet there, but it is for some reason.
We need to hit that
Secret
this year.
spot.
Yeah. So okay. So you are going to go striper fishing. You're going to hold your nose and do it, and hopefully catch something tonight. And then you're gonna roll heavy into fluke. Do you do any of the drum fishing in the
No,
interim?
I've never fished for drum.
Okay.
I'm from north of any sort of sedge area, so I've never targeted it. No. I know it's big down south, right?
It used to be bigger. I'd still say it's pretty
Really?
big. I'd still say it's pretty big. It used to be. I mean, again, I'm a lot older than you guys. I mean, back in the day, my flounder fishing experience was going out on the Delaware Bay, and you could almost, I say literally, you could almost literally walk from boat to boat across 300 boats and go a quarter of a mile that way because you were so close. I mean, people never disengaged their outboards because it was constant bumping in and out of gear, so you wouldn't run into the next guy, and everyone was catching. And it was like that with the drum fishing too. It's just everyone was anchored in 10 feet of water inside the Delaware Bay. And I don't see that. I still see drum fishermen out there, but I don't see fleets. So I'd say it's still popular, but I don't think it's like it used to be.
Yeah. I
Used
thought
to
it
be
was
huge.
more popular.
It's
Um,
not around here. Down south, it's Delaware,
Yeah, south of New
Cape
Jersey.
May. Yeah, south. Well,
Oh,
even South
okay.
Jersey, Southwest Jersey, like Salem County, right there, Pennsville, right along along the Delaware. I think there's still boats that do it, but
Yeah, because they're fishing the inside of Delaware Bay. If you if you look at the flat areas, there's oyster beds up in that shallow area that curls around the back of the bottom of New Jersey. It curls around back up towards the Delaware, up near Fortescue, and in those shallow areas, 10 feet deep, you're going to be catching them. So they're in pretty good numbers down there. You can catch them much further north, but you're going to catch the big guys down there, 70, 80, 90 pounds plus.
yeah, we caught one in the Great Bay by mistake. Like we didn't even know it ate a minnow. We were flounder fishing, dead
Great
stick
Bay
a
is
minnow,
a
and
really good spot. That's a
destroyed it.
really good spot to target them. There's some really good spots in there. All right, and then once you roll into the fall, I just want to cover the whole year, just so we know what you're up to. Once you hit the fall, and let's say post fluke season.
yeah. So then we go right into tog and fall striper.
Okay, so you're going tog even before they up the limit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not. Like I said, I might have kept one only because it was gut hooked, but I didn't keep any tog this year. And I used, going back to cooking, I cook and I eat anything that I fish to eat. I do the whole preserving the fish correctly and, freezer wrapping it, whatever. And I cook everything that I catch and keep. We all know that tog is really good to eat, and I didn't keep it because it didn't feel right to keep anything.
Right.
So yeah, even if it's one, the limit is one. I don't, even if I'm keeping just the one because it's gut hooked or something. I still fish for it. It's literally, I walk to my tog spot, so it would be silly not to tog fish.
Yeah, well, that would be nice. I don't have that experience. I can't do that unless I walk for a couple of days from Pennsylvania. So, all right, and then the winter you're rolling just tog all the way through up until until it gets too cold.
And actually, this year I've never seen that many tog, that big of tog, in the place that I fish, into the new year. It's almost like. I mean, people were messaging me and they're like, "You're still catching them?" I fished on Christmas morning, I either Christmas Eve morning or Christmas morning, but it was Christmas time, and I caught a keeper tog, and people were amazed. Basically, we were talking about it, and a lot of people think that they just became kind of like resident tog. They never moved out into the deeper water. Like I said, this year the fishing has been so different, plentiful fishing, and again, I'm still worried about the fishery.
Yeah.
Because of so many people.
Well,
but yeah, I fished until Christmas.
Well, I was catching them. We were catching them in the backwaters from the kayaks all the way up, right up until Christmas. I don't think I took the kayak out after that for tog. Maybe I did.
When was that? No, that was our last trip.
So it was around the 20th or the 15th of December, something like that. So it was getting close.
It was before Christmas.
Yeah. So that was.
I think that there was probably tog still there, even after Christmas, in January, but I ended up getting COVID in January, so I was out for a while, and then by the time I actually felt good enough to go fishing again, everyone was like, yeah, no, you're not going to catch anything. Like I couldn't even get green crabs because nobody was even fishing for them.
That's where you got to go to the freezer and get those sand fleas and hope that they hold up.
Oh, I got sand fleas in the freezer. I should have. Actually, did I? I think I might have tried frozen shrimp or something, but they didn't want that.
Yeah, shrimp works well. It'll work.
John say cooked frozen shrimp or something?
Yeah,
I'd use raw. See, raw comes off real easy.
Yeah, sometimes that's what they want. Though. Got to give them what they want.
Yeah, I don't know that I would give them cooked. That cooked feels weird to me. You cook shrimp to feed to fish. Doesn't that seem odd?
Salt them. I wonder if you could salt them to make them firmer.
That's a good question.
Maybe
That's
with clay clam.
Salt the. I'm gonna have to try that now.
Yeah, somebody's got to know. Somebody can put in the chat, or if they're watching this in the replay, put it in the comments, because that would be interesting if you could salt the shrimp, just to get a little bit more grab on that over time, so that it doesn't, they just fall apart. Yeah. Unless it's cold enough.
If any of you guys do fish with shrimp, the dollar store has shrimp.
It does.
Yes. Are they edible?
Shrimp food.
Not for human consumption.
Well, that's why I'm like, man, I wonder. I mean, it's a littler bag, but still, I think pound for pound, it's cheaper. So yeah,
for $1.
Imagine bait at the dollar store.
I wish I knew that, because I can't tell you how many times I've tried to go down fishing and I get down there before the bait shops open, especially in South Jersey, because they're on millionaire time. They wake up when they wake up and they open when they open.
Million.
Yeah, that's like the millionaires. That's how they live their weekends. But I get down there and it's 5 a.m. It's like, well, do I want to sit around and wait for 2 hours for the first shop in the area to open up, or should I just run out to the store? So I end up going out to Acme or something looking for shrimp, and they never have any good shrimp. And if I had known the dollar store, I would just go and stock up on like 20 pounds of it, so I have it to bring down for an emergency.
Well, you can also
the
make
other thing is who?
No, I was telling Rich to call me. I'm 5 minutes from a tackle shop.
Yeah,
at 5 a.m.
It's up the night before.
That's not nice. I know I could, but I don't want to do that to people, just because I didn't plan properly.
So yeah, the dollar store has them, but also, I mean, I don't know if you guys use squid strips for like a strip bait for fluking.
Yep.
The food stores prices on squid is cheaper than a bait shop. And especially I know that ShopRite has a bigger pack of squid, and pound for pound, it's cheaper. So, you get that at the beginning of the season and then use it for the whole year, and it lasts the whole year and it's cheaper.
I'll have to look into that. Yeah. I don't use a lot of bait. Honestly, it's almost all artificials for me until I get to tog season. However, that's one of my, when I feel like I have to throw a Hail Mary because just nothing's producing and I know the fish are there, I put a squid strip on.
Yeah.
And it's tough on a kayak because I don't carry a great cooler. So you can only bring the squid for one day. Maybe you'll get 2 out of it if you're lucky and it just happened to be underneath everything else and it wasn't 95 degrees.
That's true.
So
you bring one tube or cut it up and bring half a tube, but I get it.
Yeah, but that's what I should do that because that's, especially if you're fishing a tournament and you're getting desperate, you need to throw everything out there and don't always have it with me.
Well, yeah, you buy the box, and then what I do is I'll clean them and strip them out. You pull the quill out and the beak and all that stuff, and then I strip them out and put them in little containers from the dollar store, freeze them. So I just grab them and go.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff I should have done, but if I could move my camera right now, I'll be disgusted with how little I've done. How little has been done. I've been spending a lot of time on that course, so that's my excuse. But in reality, it's not a good excuse. I should have had more done by now. I should be more prepared. I mean, the season starts in less than 3 hours, and I have nothing. I don't even know where my striped bass stuff is.
And it looks like Jessica forgot to come on at 8. So,
I think that's my sister.
Welcome, Jessica.
Hi, Jessica.
You can replay it.
Yeah, you can replay it.
Yeah, she'll figure it out.
Yeah, replay it now before YouTube puts ads on it. Get through it quick because they're going to start adding the ads as soon as we're done. So
they're quick. They're quick ads.
Yeah, just hit skip. That's all you got to do. All right. So, is there anything else that we should cover before we go?
I think that was everything. We covered the tog issue and talked about winter flounder. So I think for the goals, for me anyway.
Yeah. Ed, anything you can think of?
No, I'm good. Just good luck to everyone going out tonight and tomorrow and post up some pics. We want to see them.
Yeah.
You know what? Really quick.
Yeah.
Ralph just asked about squid. Do they come in our area? I don't know if you saw my Instagram, but I found some squid in our area. When was that? October, maybe? September, October, when the water was really warm. And they came into the bays. You had to know people, though, because we kept it pretty hush-hush. But, yes, and it was very atypical. It was not typical. They're usually up north, I guess. But, very highly recommend going. It was a lot of fun, and I made some really awesome fried calamari and barbecued squid. Highly recommend.
Now, when you went for the squid, did you use those? I don't even know what they're called. Those
I had a Yozori squid jig.
Yeah, so it's got like weird. It's got the barbs all over it, right?
Oh my gosh, they hurt so bad. Do not you got to be careful with them. Yeah, they're really weird looking. Do I have a squid jig near me?
I used them.
Probably put it away because I was getting tired of getting stuck by them.
Yeah,
I didn't think they were sharp.
Oh my gosh, no, they're really sharp. Let me see what I have one in here.
So while she's looking for that, we used to, when you go offshore, you will sometimes have squid following your baits up to the top, right? So we would not be fishing for squid, but when you'd see them, we would drop out smaller hooks and then they'd grab onto it and then you'd have to set it because we didn't have those. We didn't have that, we didn't have the squid jigs. So you'd have to kind of set the hook and try to bury it in there. Sometimes you use a sabiki, but getting a sabiki down 120 feet is kind of difficult. You got to put a big weight on it. But yeah, I mean, I'll tell you what, Andrew's saying that, in one of the inlets there was squid the past fall. So maybe it's the same place that Elle is thinking of, but I would love to be able to go squid fishing. It looks like so much fun. I actually watch a YouTube channel where this guy goes squid fishing all the time. And I just have so much fun just watching him. Like, man, that is awesome. He just jumps in his kayak and he's just catching squid and they're big. I mean, there's some really nice squid that he's pulling in and he has a blast. So I wish. Apparently they come in sometimes. Elle's caught them, Andrew's caught them, but I haven't caught them anything but offshore.
So I grabbed my one of the squid jigs. This one is a bigger one than the one that I was using, but I don't know if you can see the prongs on it. Is it blurry?
It's a little blurry, but you can see the prongs on the end.
So yeah, they're really sharp, and basically they just kind of grab it with their tentacles and kind of get stuck, and then you just lift them out. Don't yank it if you are, because it kind of rips them off. just kind of lift it out, and they're really fun because they like squirt water everywhere.
Oh, they'll ink you. They'll get you.
And then they squirt water when they're coming out, and they were inking. But they also change color. They're like super cool colors. Even like when I was preparing them to cook them and eat them, cutting them up, even though they were dead, they're still changing colors. It's really cool.
Now, were you fishing for them at night with lights?
I was fishing for them at night. I didn't need lights. They were everywhere.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Wow.
Actually, I think the jig that I had might have been glow in the dark, but it didn't really glow that much because there was no lights around. So I don't think it really mattered. But I did have a smaller one than this one. This one is kind of big.
So if that happens next year, would you send me a text? So I can join you out there? That would be fun.
You got to keep it hush hush.
I'll keep it. I won't say a word. I won't even tell Ed.
There's so many people.
I'm sure you are.
I won't tell Ed until after. Then I'll send him all the pictures.
They stuck around for a while. As Andrew said, they were there for almost the whole month, I want to say. I only went a few nights. After a while, I was like, I'm tired of eating squid.
Yeah.
It was almost too much squid. And I didn't want to take everything, I mean, people were walking away with bucketfuls, and I was like, just take what you can eat for now,
Yeah. That's a lot of calamari and marinara.
Yeah. So what I did was that whatever I had and I couldn't eat frozen, I'll use it for bait. Which maybe that was what people were doing. They were trying to get bait.
I guess. Because
they were kind of a pain in the butt to clean. There's some really cool YouTube videos, on how to clean it. So
that would be cool. That would be cool. I wish that was a very good question about that, Ralph. I wish I had been there. I wish someday, hopefully I'll find it. So yeah, James and I are moving. We're moving to New Jersey eventually.
Oh, good. Well, everyone's moving out of New Jersey. So.
I told you can live in the loft.
Yeah. With my wife and 2 dogs. And when the kids visit, they can just sleep on the floor with the dogs.
There you go.
Perfect.
Yeah. Simple. It's kind of perfect for the fishermen. I'm fine with it. It's fine with me.
So buy a camper. Get a camper.
Yeah, I should do that. I'm gonna be cousin Eddie out in front of your house, Ed. That's gonna be me.
I'll tell you. I got something to tell you after this.
Yeah, wait till we're off air for that. Wait till we're off air. All right, so let's. We're getting about time. We're getting close to an hour and a half. I want to say thank you to everybody for tuning in, and let you know that next week we have Northeast Jig Company coming on. So and I'll tell you, that's a tough one to get because they are extremely busy. So they're going to be coming on. We're going to talk about jigs, jig fishing, and the soft plastic specifically that you might want to be stocking up for the different seasons that are coming up, including striped bass, including if you're going for weak fish, fluke, which is definitely a big soft plastic, even though people think it's only gulp, which I guess technically is a soft plastic, but you can catch them on these Northeast products as well. So that'll be a good one coming up. I have one that I can't quite announce yet. It is confirmed though, which is going to be really, really cool. And I did want to address one question that was in the chat, and Elle wanted to ask you to answer as well. Is anyone going to the Atlantic City Boat Show this weekend? Elle, are you heading down?
I probably won't go to the boat show, but I will be at the Edison Expo, Fishing Expo in New Jersey. So I'll be there working at a table.
Is that this weekend too?
No, it's
That's in 2 weeks, right?
It's the day after St. Patrick's Day. It's March 18th to the 20th, maybe 21st.
Okay.
So yeah, that's a little farther away. I thought about going to the Atlantic City Boat Show, but I don't have money for a boat, so.
Gotcha. Well, they have some nice fishing things there. Definitely some nice fishing things. Ed,
maybe
you're going, right?
I don't know yet. We'll see.
Okay.
A lot of people are on the fence about it.
I would be going, but my son has a soccer game on Saturday, and I'm planning on getting on the water for the first time of the season on Sunday. So I do not think that I'm going to be going this week to that. But I do want to go to more shows. I only got to go to the Oaks one. It's been way too long since we could go to shows. So I'm just like,
oh yeah,
I just want to go and see people. And, you know, as James is mentioning, Qua is doing his seminar in AC on Sheep's Head. That would be great to go down and see, but not going to make that this weekend. But for those that haven't been out and, you know, you don't want to get on the water quite yet, go to the boat shows, go to these expos, go to all of them, because they're still fun, you know, and I think we've forgotten since we weren't allowed to go for so long. So,
yeah.
All right. With that, I want to thank everybody again for tuning in. Elle, thank you so much for stopping by. We're going to have you back on, talk about another species if you're willing.
Awesome. Totally.
Anything but striper.
We're not going to talk about striper. No. Overruled.
Hey, you never know.
Overruled. We need to talk about flounder. I need somebody. Dan Van Carey is one guy, and maybe you'll be the other person that I can just talk flounder with all the time, because that's all I think
all
about.
Day, every day. Yep.
So we'll have to do that this summer. So we'll get back in touch with you. Thanks again for coming on. Thanks to everybody for stopping by and watching. And remember, Northeast Jig next week, and we'll catch you then. So there you have it, another episode of the Fat Dad Fishing Show podcast in the books. That one with Elle from Heaven and Elle Outdoors on Instagram. You got to really see inside the mind of somebody who goes winter flounder fishing, which is something that most people don't do. So if you have the itch, get out there, try some of the tactics, and use some of the gear that she outlined. You should be good to go. Thanks again for checking out the podcast. This is available on all the major podcast platforms. And in order to help us grow, I just have to ask you, follow the podcast, share it out to friends, and give it a rating and recommendation if you're finding value in it. So until next time, thanks for checking it out. Tight lines.